Yeah, it was a long night. I will never publicly tell the story of the second half of that night. Uh, nope. But during the period of time, so it was 2004, 2005, 2006. Um, During the period of time that I was the day to day associate attorney, like, doing most of the kind of grunt work um, on Lars Ulrich's divorce case during that period of time, he was unimaginably kind and gracious to me in a way that I never, ever possibly could have or would have expected. I just, it blew my mind. Um, I'll tell, I'll tell one story. Maybe I'll do a follow up video with a second story. So this was so in 2003. It's like the movie Some Kind of Monster came out, and before I was working on his case, my brother and I went and saw that film at the Castro Theater in San Francisco. And the band and the director were there, and it was a super cool night. But we watched that movie. It's like the band almost fell apart. They kind of soldiered through, and then they brought in, James went to rehab. They bring in Robert Trujillo on bass. They put out the Saint Anger album. And so in 2004, when I start working on his case, off and on, it's like they're on tour supporting that album, the Saint Anger album. And like they toured Europe, and then they were touring the States. And I was talking to him quite a bit during that period of time. And, and sometimes we would just kind of chit chat about stuff. And so I was sitting in my office one day, and he called me, um, and he's like, "Hey man, didn't you tell me that you're from Columbus, Ohio?" And I was like, "Yeah, that was like 6 months ago." I'm like, "How the fuck? How did you remember that?" He's like, "We're playing, one of the arenas in Columbus, Ohio, in a couple days. Uh, is there anybody that you would, like to invite to the show? Have us put on the guest list?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm the oldest of four boys. Me and my brother Falcon, we live out here in the Bay Area. My two younger brothers still lived in Columbus, Ohio. And I think at that time, I mean, I was 16 and 13 when they were born. So there's a little bit of an age gap. But my two youngest brothers still lived in Columbus, Ohio. So I was like, yeah, yeah, absolutely. He's like, "Great, here's the number for my assistant. Call my assistant. She'll work it out. We'll take care of it." And I was like, "Dude, this is fucking amazing, man. Thank you." And so I called his assistant, and she said, "Okay, Lars filled me in. You got two younger brothers, da 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 da. I can get each one of your younger brothers plus three of their friends for each one of them into the show. Great seats, VIP. They can come to the meet and greet with the band. You know, full package, full package." And I'm like, "Great, here's their names." I called my two brothers. I'm like, "Here's what's going on if you're not busy tomorrow night." And so they each got three friends together, each one of them, and all eight of those kids went to the show, and they all got to meet the band. They all had VIP. They all had the backstage thing, just the full thing. He didn't have to do that. He called me and he's like, "Hey, aren't you from Columbus? Do you have anybody who would like to do this?" And it was just, and he, like, for like 10, 12, 13, 14 years, I mean, he just did stuff like that for me and for my brothers and for my friends. It was just, he didn't have to do that stuff, but he did. And it was just fucking great, man. It was incredibly kind and gracious. And, you know, my two younger brothers and their six friends, you know, thought I was amazing. They thought that I had gotten that done. I didn't do anything. Yeah, dude, I have so many stories like that. I mean, you know, it's like they did their 30th anniversary shows at the Fillmore in December of 2011. And I mean, I got to go to three of them, got to take a bunch of my friends to different ones. One funny thing about that is like my brother came to at least one of those with me, and he had kind of like a faux hawk thing going on at the time. And, we got the passes up into the special area at the Fillmore up in the balcony for those shows. And James showed up. He came in. We were talking to James for a while, and he had a little faux hawk thing going on. So my brother and James got to bond over their little faux hawks. Just so many cool stories like that, man. Just so many cool stories like that. And I mean, and Lars didn't have to do any of that shit, and he just did it over and over and over and over and over and over again. And there were only like, I think out of all of those experiences, there were maybe only 3 or 4 where I was the one who called his assistant and was like, hey, do you think maybe we could possibly, all the other times it was him calling me and like, hey man, do you want to come do this thing? And I was like, yeah, let's do that. That sounds fucking amazing. I mean, at some point early in 2011, I was standing on the side of the stage at the Warfield with Lars and some of his friends and my buddy Craig and me, and we were watching a Motorhead concert, because we'd all gone out to dinner earlier, and then Lars was like, hey, who wants to go see Motorhead? Yeah, let's go see Motorhead. Yeah, that's great. And then we got to meet the guys in Motorhead, and they all offered me speed, and I was like, no thanks. You want some speed then? I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. It's all good. And then we went up to the Skylight Lounge at the surf. It's so many fucking good stories, man. Yeah, moving to San Francisco was a good idea.